Hello. Today we'll present you the work we have done on the formal verification of the implementation of the REVM. So what is it? Our goal is to show that there are no possible bugs in the Ethereum nodes. So this is quite important because even if there are several different implementations, like 5 or 6 main implementation with the idea of client diversity, if there is a bug in one of the execution node of Ethereum, you can have potential attacks or a network split if not all the nodes agree on the same behavior. And there are many ways to verify the absence of bugs in the nodes, but the way we are using is formal verification. So the advantage of formal verification is that we can really cover all the possible inputs. So we can make sure that for any input, we'll get the security property we want. But compared to testing, it's more complex because it's based on a mathematical analysis of the code. So the way we proceed is that we target the REVM implementation, which is in Rust, and it's used especially, it's very popular for the zkVM projects because it compiles well to RISC-V, and it's also very efficient. To do this formal verification, we use Theorem Prover, in our case ROC. And the first step that we need to do is to make a precise model of the implementation, because Rust is not a formal language, so we need to first convert the code of REVM to ROC, and this is actually not totally obvious, because Theorem Prover, they are a purely functional language with a lot of restrictions to make the proof engine consistent. And for this translation, we use our tool Coq of Rust. Once this step will be done, we'll be able to do the verification itself with mainly three points. One is to show that there are no possible panic in the implementation of a node. So it makes sure that there are no transactions that can make the node stop brutally. We'll show also the property of backward compatibility. So it's important because in this kind of implementation, you want to have a very optimized code, but when you make optimization, you might also break some behavior. So being able to show the full backward compatibility between one release and another is very important. And finally, it will be the nicest goal to get. We would show the equivalence with other nodes. So for example, get or the Nevermind nodes, which are quite popular. The idea will be to show that for any input, they return the same result. But first, we need to get the model right. Our strategy is as follows. We start from the THIR intermediate language from Rust-C. So this is an intermediate language used by the Rust compiler. And it's basically taking all the Rust source code, unfolding all the macro, and adding type information on all the sub-expressions. After we feed it to the Coq of Rust tool, that is actually pretty thin. The only thing it does is that it pretty prints this THIR in a format readable by ROC, data type that we define to represent this THIR. And after we do 2 refinement steps to clean up the THIR code to more idiomatic ROC code. The first step is to add native ROC names and types And the second step is to handle the memory, because in a purely functional language, you cannot mutate your memory. So what we obtain at the end is a code that is very similar to the original Rust code, but written in a style that is idiomatic and compatible with the Rock formal language. So this is what we want, because we get something that is optimal for the proofs, for the verification what we will do. And it's also a model that we can show as being really equivalent to the original Rust code. So we are sure that we do not miss any detail, and that when REVM will evolve, we'll also be able to update our model. So to give an example, if we take the add instruction of the EVM or the Solidity language, when looking at the documentation, it does a simple thing. It takes the two topmost elements of a stack, A and B, and it puts on the stack the result of the addition modulo 2 to the 256, because all the integers are on 256 bits. And it does also an additional thing is to do gas accounting. So when we look at the code of REVM in Rust, here's the implementation for the addition. The addition is parameterized by an interpreter, giving the current state of the REVM. Everything is parameterized by type classes. Here, interpreter types and host, because a choice of implementation for REVM is to make the code very modular. And after, the code does the gas accounting by decreasing the gas counter by very low and returning an error if it reaches 0. It gets the two topmost elements of a stack, OP1 and OP2. For OP2, it doesn't remove it, but it instead return reference to the element. And after, it does the update with the addition of OP1 and OP2. And of course, if the stack is too small with 0 or 1 element, the pop and top macro will return the appropriate error. When we translate it to Rock, we actually get the representation of the THIR of the Rust compiler. This code is extremely verbose. It's about 100 times longer than the original code. And the reason is that we add type annotation on every sub-expressions. And also we unroll the two macro, but actually a few lines long each. So to make it understandable for the proofs, we do the two refinements that we have seen. The first one is to add native rock names and rock types. So here is the statement where we say that the add instruction can be typed by a parameter interpreter, which have a type in interpreter.t, which implement some type class. Get the two parameter interpreter on host and return something of type unit, and we can prove with this with proof that this named and type representation is equivalent to what was generated before. The last step, we rewrite the code explicitly in a purely functional form, where we get really the idiomatic rock code with the use of an equivalent gas macro and pop-end macro. And here at the end, we do the addition of OP1 and OP2 what we have done here to represent the mutation of the stack is that we give ourselves an additional parameter interpreter that we will thread here and finally update here. So this is the idea of having a state monad where the state is represented as an additional parameter that we propagate. So every time it's a new interpreter variable, we don't actually mutate everything, but it behaves, it's written in a style as if we have mutated the interpreter value. So this is what we have now, but the coverage is far from complete in our model. We only have simple restrictions like the addition. And to get more coverage, we need to optimize the Coq-of-Rust tool, especially the proof stack to do the refinements. We have a plan for that, and we'll work on implementing it. Yeah, thanks.